That was not the best rendition of that tune. Right. I've been having all sorts of technical errors. I started doing this video, it was all going brilliant, and then I ran out of memory and I've had to start again. And I didn't play that well, but I don't care. I'm not going to do it again. I'm going to forge forward. I do apologise for not playing that very well, but that's the point. Why am I not happy with that? Well, there's a few mistakes. I didn't quite get it right, and it was a bit too fast. And on this video, we're going to be exploring what makes music good or what makes it bad. And the way we're going to be doing it is by basically, we're going to create a composition in this video on the guitar. Now, that composition I just played to you is actually the very first thing I ever wrote on any instrument. Although I did mess around on a piano when I was very young. But I remember in 1980, I started to pick up a guitar and I was messing around with it and someone had shown me a D chord and I was trying to get that. And then one night, I was messing around and I thought, I wonder if you could just press down random notes. Well, what happens if you just do that? Well, it sounds horrible, no wonder. So, you need someone to tell you what that chord is. And then I pressed down some random notes and I accidentally, without knowing it, played an A major 7 chord. And I went, well, that's nice. But no one showed me that chord. So I felt like I'd made that chord up. I felt like I'd discovered that A major 7. I hadn't, but I felt like that. And that was very exciting. And I wanted to hear the sound of this. And this is how I learnt the guitar, right? Is that I decided I wanted to pick all the notes separately. So I came up with this pattern with my fingers. And so enamoured by this chord, and this is the thing that makes you a musician. It's not the talent or knowing or having perfect pitch or any of that stuff that everyone thinks it is. It's the fact that for some reason, at 12 years old, I was happy to go into my bedroom, pick up the guitar, and then sit for hours, not playing, listening. And I would listen to it. When I first started that chord, I wasn't pressing down well. I wasn't picking it that well. But I wanted it to sound nice. So my idea of what nice is, I applied. And skill started to emerge. The skill was related to what I heard and what I thought was nice. Once I realised you could make your own chords up, and I wasn't great at playing chords, so there was no way I was going to come up with anything like, you know, these types of chords, anything strange like that. So I eventually came up with this chord that I really like the sound of. And I would go in my bed and I'd strum this chord. And then I think, can I move this chord around? Ooh, that's all right. That's not very nice. Can I change the notes a bit? Well, that's quite nice. Although these two chords go together, I didn't know why. Shall I move that down to here? Well, look, these three chords seem to go together. They seem to tell a story. They seem to be going somewhere. What happens if with this finger picky thing I apply to it? And I like this. And so this became the first composition that I ever wrote. It's not very complex, but the fact is, 45 years later, I can still remember it. And that's what a composition is it? It's not that good, that fast, is it? What about really slow? That's really sad like that. And this is what makes you a musician, is asking those sorts of questions. So on this video, I want to start right from the ground up and walk through it and leave no stone unturned and try and create a composition on this guitar today. And at the end of this video, there should be something. And the question is it any good or not? Well, that will be my decision and that will be your decision. But let's return to that. Let's get the meat and potatoes, because it's all well and good for it to be Philosophy Sunday and philosophise on what's good music and bad and talk, and you think about it and I think about it. But the truth is, it means nothing. We have to get this guitar and come up with something on it that we think's good. And when we do it on this video, we're going to try and examine why we think it's good and go through the process of that and see what's actually going on, all right? So let's start right at the bottom. We're going to be creating a composition on the guitar. Now the guitar, this was originally a Spanish instrument, right? It's got 6 strings. The 6 strings are under tension. When you twang the strings, it vibrates, right? And it vibrates into that peg there, right? Which then is pushed really hard into this bit of wood and into this sound box, which resonates. It resonates. It's not like what doesn't resonate. That resonates slightly, that metal pole, but this, as you can hear, resonates. The whole thing rings. So it's amplifying the sound of that twang, you know. And if I could try, I can dampen that down somewhat. We've got pegs at the end, which alter the tension. And then we have frets, and we can fret it. We can fret the notes and get different pitches out of that, and they're arranged in a certain way. But what's more interesting is the fact that this has descended from the lute and other string instruments going right back to Africa, and it has a certain sound and a certain quality. Things sound a certain way on this that would sound different if we were playing it on an organ or on trombones, for example. This guitar also has some advantages to it, is that we can play chords on it. Not every instrument you can play chords, and we can play melodies on it, which is fantastic, right? We can bend the notes on it, so we can fret the notes exactly, but unlike a piano, we can bend the note, and we can wobble the notes, so we can put expression into it, right? We can hold it while we sing, you know, which is incredible, isn't it? You know, I could sing you a song and strum my guitar. I could push down the notes and it will sound great because I know some chords that I can use today. See, and as soon as I do that, I'm thinking, my songwriting skills aren't very good today. I've done this on the videos before and I've been much better. That wasn't very good. I felt a bit tense doing that. I felt a bit tense playing the tune at the start. There's all sorts of things going on here that aren't right. And is this a good day for me to be making a composition, or am I not feeling it? I don't know. That's what it felt like then. Let's explore that as well. Anyway, so the guitar's a really incredible instrument because it's portable. You can play chords on it and you can sing with it. You know, I can walk down the road playing this. It does all the things the piano does and more, but I can just carry it around. This is an incredible instrument. And also, I think it sounds nice. That's a nice sound. Some instruments are really plucky. Some instruments will only do long notes, like a trombone will only do long notes, you know, whereas something like a xylophone, everything's plucky. But with this, I can... There's a lot of expression you can get into a guitar, a lot of expression. So the reason for that is because a whole bunch of creative people have created this. This is part of the creativity. Instruments are part of the musical landscape. So when you pick an instrument up like this and you hold it in your hand and you start to work with it, say you can't play it, but as soon as you hit it, you are actually making music. That is music. No, it's not, and it's just a note. It is music. Is it any good? Well, we're going to try and do something with it. And what controls what we do with it? It's our decisions of what sounds nice. So let's start from the bottom up. We've got 6 strings here. Strum them together. Now that chord there, that's like it's like this is basically a minor 7 chord. That's E minor 7. But this note here is discordant. It's basically a 4th. That's actually a minor chord there, but it's a bit muddy. It doesn't sound very nice at all. But it isn't totally out of tune either. Can we make this sound good? This is the raw material we've got with the instrument. The instrument starts doing a certain thing. All instruments are like this. And if you're learning an instrument, this will be really useful for the way of how to approach it. Try and get a note out of it. Make that note sound good. You know. The very, very, very first thing I ever learned on the guitar, and this is possibly my first ever composition, is I picked up a guitar, not been able to play it, started to do this, wasn't doing any of this, couldn't even hold the notes down, they were all buzzy, didn't like the feel of that. And I took the lowest note here, the low E, and the high E. Let's get it in tune. And I played them together. I didn't play them together, I thought, wow, that's interesting. What if I next move the next notes in and I play those together? And suddenly, those two notes together, oh my God, because I'd basically got a chord, and then I took the two middle notes. And I thought, can I make a tune out of this? Cocked up there, you see. And this is the thing, is that when you start to play an instrument, there's two things going on. You are a creator, but you're a listener. And you're listening to things and you're going, does that sound nice or not? Now, the thing that you own when you make music, the thing you own is whether you think it sounds good or not. No one can argue with you about this. It's what you think is good, right? That's it. Okay? And so there's a control on this. I believe if you just sit there with an instrument and you start to experiment with it and start to pull out what you think's good with no other judgment in mind and try and control the instrument from what you intuitively know in terms of what you think sounds good, you will learn how to play that instrument. You might make some mistakes, you might go down some certain alleys, you might need some guidance from a teacher. But fundamentally, that's what musicians do. Okay? And I want to give you ownership of that. All of you are completely entitled to sit behind a piano, whether you play it or not, and press the notes down and find something you like, and then try and learn it and repeat it and come up with something, improvise with it, and you decide whether it sounds good or not. Okay? Now, what really happens when you do that is people will go, is this proper? Am I any good? If someone hears that, they'll think I'm an idiot, right? All of that is the grown-up stuff that stops you from being like a child and playing. When you make music, you are playing like a child and you are enjoying it in the same way as every kid wants to go up and play a piano. And they don't care what it sounds like, right? But what kids have is they just have the sheer wonder of the sound it's making, which is miraculous. But as you grow up, you start to bring in some sort of control, okay? So let's get into this. How shall we approach this? Well, let's start making up some random chords. So let's put a finger there and a finger there. And I'm just going to start with just two notes. I'm just going to hold two notes and strum and see what we get. That's weird. It's like same notes. Now, I have done this for years and years. And so as soon as I do this, my brain goes, oh, that's a sixth. That's a sixth. So if you take the major scale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, that note there is a sixth. Now that's quite an interesting interval, that is. It's neither major nor minor. I know all this stuff. So when we play those two notes together, and I'm using the finger picking, because the thing is, it's not just about notes. Everyone gets hung up on the notes. The rhythm is more important. I can go. Or I can go. Or I can go. The rhythm is making far much more of a difference to how that works. Now that's quite inspiring, because it means that once you've got a note out of it, so say you try to learn the saxophone, get one note out of it and then start to worry it with different rhythms. What rhythms can you come up with? Now, some of you might be sat there going, I wouldn't be able to come up with anything. And some of you might be sat there thinking, I wouldn't know what's good or bad or not. That is what the talent is. If I had a very, very strong desire to see what things sounded like, and I was very confident that I knew what sounded good, and it wasn't like I know what's sounding good. Well, it was like, I love that, I just want to hear it over and over again. So I'd be fascinated by this. Adding that note in there. So that's 6. We got a 4th above that 6 here. There's a 5th. So now we've got a 5th and a 6th in here. A 1st, a 5th and a 6th. There's our 5th. Let's go for that. I like that. Now, I like the sound of that. I like the fact that the notes are, there's a big distance between that and that. You know, we're not dealing with a chord like this where the notes normally are quite close together like this. We basically got, there's a big variation. So with that big variation, we're leading up to that high note. So I feel that we should go from low. That note there is slapping against the nail of my hand, and I quite like that. So, next question is, if I'm doing this, how long can we stick this for, right? Because this is the next thing when you come to compositions. So if we start, we like the sound of that. I like the sound of that. It sounds interesting. I've got a way of playing it. So our composition now starts. Round about here, you want something to happen, don't you? But you're still intrigued. Now you're not interested. Now it's just a repeat. So it was around about 4 times. Now you'll find this. If you repeat things, they want to repeat it either 4 or 8 times. That's a really good thing to know compositionally. That's a structure. That's the grid. That's perfection. Why? I don't know, but it's 4 things. I could probably tell you why. Sorry. Now we want it to move. Now, I don't want it to be hard, so keeping this shape and utilising this thing about the guitar that's great, which the piano hasn't got. It's really hard to do this on the piano. I can just move this chord up and down. Sorry. Oh, now what I'm doing now, forget what I've just done. Let's see what sounds nice. That sounds nice, doesn't it? So we were there. That's horrible. That's okay. In the middle. That sounds like quite funky, that one. We're here. But this one, that's nice, isn't it? But also, these two are nice, and they're either side of it. So what can I now create a second part, which is with these chords? Can I go? Right, so now we've got 2 things. That makes composition a lot easier. So what we're going to do is the next thing, and this is the structural stuff. Structure is really important. Now, I am using structural things that I know. They're very basic. We could break that up, but I'm trying to do a video and show you how composition works. And I want you to go, well, that's actually quite nice. I understand what Andy's done there. You know, he's at one point got this sort of visceral, this reaction to stuff that he's going, I like that, I like that. But he's applying a structure and he sort of knows the structure. So we get this now. Sorry. And we're going to change it. Now, I didn't like that because I heard something else, right? My structure says do that and then follow that, but I felt it should do this. Sorry, let's get it right. And then back again. Let's repeat that again. So I've done that twice. Now, if we called this here A, we're just going to call this A. First, let the alpha. It's got nothing to do with the note A. That's the A section. Then it goes B, and then back to A. And that structurally is called an AABA structure, and it's about the most basic one. AABA sounds more interesting than ABAB, right? These are things that you start to pick up, but it's still our judgment. So we've got this composition now. So I'm going to ask you a question. Now you notice on beat 4, if you count 4, 1, 2, 3, I'm putting a little bit of percussion on the guitar because the guitar you can also, there's all sorts of things we can do. So just to make it, I've made it a little bit more rhythmical, a little bit more driving. Do it again. Start again. I can't talk and play the guitar at the same time. What's going to happen now? Now I could move this chord up and down, but we've sort of had that. We need something else. This is the thing with music. Once you get to this point, it's not about it all working. We need something to come in that's different. We need something that's a contrast. We need something that upsets the apple cart. This is a big mistake people make, right? So let's just, what happens if we just crash into something? So we know we got this tempo. So what else have we got on the guitar? That's interesting sound. So I'm just holding down. Because I thought, let's do something simple. So we're not going to finger pick, we're going to strum. And again, I've got my rule that we're only going to hold down, well, I'm holding down 3 strings, but here I'm just going to put my finger on. So what's this? And this is something, I am thinking something entirely different. That's a bit muddy. That's better, isn't it? Or then I get that discordance. This is very dark, isn't it, to the light that we had before. So Whereas see, I have forgotten the first thing. I have gone, because I know how music works. I don't want to just do more of the same. I've gone almost like, forget that. You know, like when, you know, when those kids will draw a head and then they'll put the two little neck bits down and then they'll pass it on to their friend and they'll put the body on. And then you open it up and you've created something new because you sort of forgot. You didn't try and make it work. You just did whatever you wanted to do. So I'm going to add this on now and see what we get if we move in. Now, my decision on whether this works or not will be my decision. And you may go, oh, I really like that. And some of you may go, I don't like that. That's the whole point. And this is what I want to explore going on here. So let's have a go. Oh, can't bloody play the thing. Again. Now that technically is a hard jump, but that's what the jump I want to make. So we go in, and then I've got to go. This is what makes your technique get better because you get things like that. It's quite hard for me to make that change. 3, 4. Then I realise I've got to go 1, 2, 3, 4. Whoa. So the question is that change too much of a change? I feel it sort of is. For a solo guitar piece, it's too much. Maybe if that was a band and it suddenly the whole band kicked in, that would be interesting. But I want to retain this. So can I? Now what I've done is I've taken that chord and I've moved it more up into the range of what we had before. Change the chord again. It was a bit muddy, right? And I don't know what these chords are. I think they're power chords, really. But and I've got some idea. But in the end, this is much more aesthetic. I thought let's just get double that note up here. Oh, that's nice. It's a lot more open now and angular. Now I feel like this should go on for a while. But this second half, it needs to change. Maybe I can bring a bit of that heaviness in. So perhaps, now I don't know where these ideas are coming from, but they're there. For me, they're just there. I don't question it, I just go for it. So I'm gonna do this. So start here. I'm gonna do this twice. Then I'm going to bring in that low note. Now I'm checking the dynamic level. As I'm playing it, I'm listening to it, go, that's too heavy. What if I do it lighter and let it subtly do its work? So I go, just let it do its work, Andy. Now bring your low notes in. think I've got that there. So let's put this together now and see what we have in terms of a composition. We've now got 2 sections. So we're going to start like this. Beginning. Now when we come back to here, I'm a strong believer when you come back to something, it should be slightly different, just to keep your interest going. So when I come back, I might go, now. And I can't, this is, I'm stumped now. I'm stumped. Maybe I don't think, maybe. I just said I'm stumped, and then as soon as I came down to play it, I did something else. This is on a subconscious level. That should be ringing. That's the mistake I made. That second section, I don't know if I like it like that. I do. I can control it more. Maybe get me change this. Now you can see I've sort of now, I'm juggling, I've got 2 things here, and I'm trying to refine them and make them interesting. So when we've got this piece, it isn't just like the first section, the second section, the first section, that each one has a characteristic. So here, I like that. And then low. I'm trying to hear where the music should go at that point. quite nice. Sorry. Yeah, so I'm having to, the deeper you get into it, the harder it is to solve the problems. So I'm going to add this little bit at the end of this section where I play this chord. Now I've got no idea what these chords are. I'm just plunking my fingers down to show you how this works. So I'm going to go, so. No, sorry. Now you can see I can barely play it. I haven't formed the ideas. This is what I'm trying to show you on this video. I'm trying to show you something really difficult to get across here. It's like there's a big mess and you're trying to make sense of it and you're having to leave some of the things unsolved and other things unsolved. It's like you're a sculptor chipping away at it. What am I trying to get at here? The hard thing is retaining the... I know it's nice, but I can't quite play it how I want to hear it. So before we were going... Just not working. So what am I going to go with here? It's too complex, too fussy. What am I going to do? So we're here. Right, so I'm going to go for that. Now, where this is coming from, I don't know. It's partly what I've practiced on the guitar. It's partly things I'm playing the guitar for years and years, and there's something in my fingers, and this is the process that makes music. So I'm going to go. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put an improvised section in now, because a lot of my compositions have improvised. So, and I'm really going to just go... So I'm basically just going to hit the E. And then I'm going to come back out to that. So now I think I have got the makings of my composition. I'm going to try and play it now. So I'm now going to perform this composition, which is called the Philosophy Sunday Song, right? So we try it then. Let's have a go, see if I can play this. So that was a first run through. There's a lot of improvisation in there. There were things I liked and there was things I didn't like. At this point, my process would be, let's put that aside now. We've got it on here on video. And I would walk away from it. So now I can get an objective point of view, because I'm right in the middle of this. And I might listen to that tomorrow and go, oh, that bit I quite like, I don't like that. And I would start to develop that as an idea. But we have a guitar piece, we have a solo guitar piece. Now, the question is here at the end of this video, is this any good, right? Now, the problem here, what we're actually dealing with, and I haven't ever spoken about it on this channel, is subjectivity and objectivity. So what we have often on this channel is people going, oh, it's all subjective. And then, you know, I go, no, it isn't all subjective. It's subjective and objective. Right, this is the way I see it. I'm me, right? I like the sound of things, but I assume that because I'm a human being, there will be things that I like that I imagine the other person will like because I like them. In other words, the universe doesn't seem to be that I like a whole bunch of things and they don't line up with everybody else. On the whole, we can have a sort of agreement. And so there's something really interesting going on, is that I like things, but there'll be things where only a few people like it, and there'll be things where lots of people like it. And also, in the process of making music, you will change your opinion, and you will start to hear things in the music that is more advanced or more complex, or something that you didn't like but you do like now. Right, and so there will be a dialogue between the things that you know generally people like, and then very specific things. And there'll be things that only you like, and you know they're very special to you, but there's got to be at least one or two people who like these things. And then there'll be things that everybody likes. So you're sort of juggling these two things. The subject-object thing is the fact that we are aware that we're trying to communicate to people, but we don't want to just say something that they agree with entirely. We want to challenge them. And that's what you're trying to come up with all the time, is that juggle. Now, the thing is inside that, in sort of 4 dimensions, is the fact that you're also aware that you have that in yourself. So when you get involved in something, once you're inside it, you see it in a certain way. And then if you walk away from it and look back, you go, oh my God, what was I thinking? Because once you're worried about something, you may forget something else is going on. And that is usually the case when it comes to creating these sorts of compositions. Now, I believe that a great way of, well, I think it's the only way of learning an instrument, is to find an instrument and to create compositions on it, and to sit and find something that you can do with it that you find interesting. Now, at this point, I would love to have an instrument here that I don't play and then try and create a composition. Now, I've done this on this channel with like marimbas and all sorts of weird things where I've tried to go off and create compositions, or try and create compositions using just things in the room. And what you're actually developing is you're developing the skill at being able to make a composition. And as you can see, when you write a composition, you are improvising, and then you are remembering the good bits of the improvisation, and then you're playing them over and over again. So composition is just remembered improvisation or scored improvisation. My compositions always have an aspect of improvisation, and I probably wouldn't write something so structured as going, because that basically went A, there was a first section, which was A, B, A. Then it went into a second section, which is basically A, B. Then it went back to the first section, A, B, A. Then the second section, A, B. And then I dropped to the E and I gave myself a space to solo, right? But there's ways of playing the guitar where you might be sort of halfway between that. Like, so you might go. Now here, on the improvisational thing, I thought I could hear something. I want to do this. I wanted that to be, and then from here. No. You see, so I tend to have things that are in the middle of that, and my composition developed when I was about 20 years old, and I purchased a 4-track, and it meant I could put ideas down, improvise them, and then rather than having to then remember them and play them over again and get this sort of composition that I'd retained, the tape would do that for me, and I started to improvise onto tape and then mess with that. Once the computers came down, now my compositional method is done on computers, and I've allowed myself to become a lot more I do not question what I'm doing, and that's a hard space to get into. It's a hard space for me on here with you watching, knowing that I'm trying to create something coherent, but also accessing another part of me which is unquestioned. That's quite a difficult thing to do. Have I answered on this video what makes music good and what makes music bad? Well, the answer is if you think it sounds good, it sounds good. And then if the audience think it sounds good, it sounds good. And it's somewhere between the two of those. It's just a decision that people make. It's quite simple. It's quite simple. That's it. I think I'm going to finish up. I'm going to try and really delve into, and I'm going to do an improvisation on this guitar. I don't know why I'm putting myself through this much stress. Right, but when you play the guitar on your own, right, you need, I like to play off something, and so I need to try and create something that I can play off within the nature of the guitar itself. So I'm just going to detune this E to a D. So I've got that 5th there, and that's going to be the bed that I work on. Should we try with that? Something with that? on. I'm stumbling. I started to stumble at a certain point. And that would be how I work. There was a certain point where I liked some of the ideas, and then I got lost and I pulled it together with this new idea. No, it's not happening. It's hard. I find it hard. I like to be able to respond off something that's moving quite a lot. So, but anyway, I did try my best. I hope you'd enjoy this video. But that was rubbish, you see, and that's how we know. What makes it rubbish? The skill of the musician. That is important. A musician has to be able to do something that they're able to play. They have to be able to follow this storyline, and sometimes the storyline's going somewhere, and your ability to follow yourself there. Yeah, I haven't got the ability. If you're Keith Jarrett, then you have, and then that's what a genius is a genius. It can do stuff like that, you see. This is what the skill, the aesthetic choice of the creator, and then the ability of the listener to receive it. That is what makes music good. And that goodness is actually, and this is the profound bit at the end that I've just realized, the goodness that I've just described then is like a good thing that happens between two people, like an interaction, right? And it's relevant to them. But this idea of the greater good may not actually be a thing in the arts. Right? It might be something that actually comes along and kills the art. Shakespeare's great because the actor is speaking Shakespeare's work, and if the actor can imbue that with a sort of emotional pointedness related to the meaning that they put in, that Shakespeare put in, and then have an audience member that understands it and could receive it, because I don't understand Shakespeare when I watch it. But when that person does it, there's a thing that goes between all those people. Shakespeare from 500 years ago, through the actor, through the person now. And what is it? It's human experience. It's a recognition of what it is to be human, and to go, yes, I understand this. And to sometimes maybe show an aspect of humanity that you hadn't thought of before. A feeling that is so precise and specific that it points to something that you haven't never felt before. That's the good. And then a lot of people experience that good and they go, that Shakespeare's really good, especially when they've got a good actor and if you've got the right people in the audience, so they've been educated. And then that becomes a virtue, and then that's what we mean by good. But that is a signpost to good. It's like the footsteps in the sand that is the symbol of a wonderful walk that someone took where they felt, oh, this is incredible being at this beach and seeing the sun. What evidence have you got? Well, look, you can see my footsteps. That's all there. And the sea will come in soon and wash them away. It's like the footsteps aren't the thing. They point to the thing. And so on this channel, when we talk about the great and the bad and all that, we're talking about something that doesn't really exist. It's a vague pointer, and we want to hold on to it, and we want to have it, and you want me to discuss it, and you want to think about it, because we want to be reminded of that sublime feeling that I was arrogant to hope that I could convey here. But I wasn't, was I? Because making music's harder than that. There's a semblance of it here, and that's enough to probably kept you interested to go watch Andy trying to do that. He can't quite do it, can he? That Keith Jarrett is bloody good, that Carl concert. It's that. But the fact that he's so good is not what makes it good. What is great about it is that he was able to do that and convey something to the audience. And it's the conveyance of that. That's what's good. And what that is our shared humanity. And it's the specifics of that shared humanity that you cannot put into words. It's the specifics that show us that life is very specific and pointed and exists in a certain way. Right, taken an hour to do this. This is proper Philosophy Sunday video where I come out with really a blank canvas and don't know where I'm going, and I've really let it out today as much as I can. So if you appreciate me doing that, because I have the feeling that I've shown something too much on this video, maybe shown my limits as a musician, maybe shown too much of how music's made, I don't know. Or maybe not created a video that's good enough to go on YouTube because it's too out of control. It was those the writhing creative beast is not It's uncouth to show it to people in the way I have. It doesn't make any sense. It's like indulgent. It's pretentious. I don't know. I feel bad about this one at the end of it. I feel like I've done something I shouldn't have done. It would be easier to not put this video up, but I promise you I will, so you're watching it. Right? If you're not watching that, you don't know, and that's another profound thing about art as well. Right at the end of this has been weird. I feel weird with this one. It will go up. It is what it is. I am what I am. I'm no better or worse than I am, and that's what I am, and I can't do anything about it, and neither can you. And that's the basic point, I think, that we arrive at the end of this video. Please, if you like this sort of content, then put a like on it and subscribe and help me out and put the comments and say, you know, because this is bonkers stuff. This is what we do here every now and then. This is bonkers stuff. I don't feel it's right even doing it. Why? Because however much I have worked against not trying to worry about being perfect and proper, I'm still, it's Satan on your shoulder, perfect and proper.